welcome to the No Spin News live for Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. Stand up for your country. Obviously, we are live because we are going to analyze President Biden's 10th press conference. It was quite the experience. Did you sit there for an hour and 45 minutes? Not an easy thing to do. A lot of meandering around, a lot of wandering here, wandering there. You know, it wasn't the tightest exposition I've ever seen. But we're going to be fair. I don't think Mr. Biden would mind me calling him a rambling man, because he certainly was. So I want to do a prologue to the press conference just by setting it up. This is a fact-based broadcast here. And I hope you will compare what we give you tonight in the next hour or so to what you see on the network and cable news. And you'll see the huge difference. So there was a poll that came out today, Politico, that's a left-wing organization, and it asked 2,000 registered voters, 36% Democrat, Republican 37, and Independent 27. Very simple question. What grade would you give Joe Biden as president? So here it is. 11% said A, 20% B, 18% C, 12% D, 37% F. So that's not good, 49% if you had D and F, and good 31% if you add A and B. C is kind of like doesn't really mean anything. So anyway, the guy from Politico was on CNN and he apologized for the poll because he's an ardent leftist and he didn't want to really bring the poll to people, but he had to. Now keep that in mind, that a whopping 37% of Americans are giving Joe Biden a failing grade as president. So if I had to sum up the press conference for somebody who didn't see it, I would say that President Biden is, quote unquote, this is O'Reilly, in denial. He's in denial of what is happening around him. Last time I saw this was when I interviewed Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld during the Iraq War. He was in denial. Last time I saw this, okay, this blatant. All right, so President Biden thinks that he's doing a great job, and he thinks that things are going remarkably well in the COVID area. His words, quote, remarkably well. All right. This time last year, we were in the middle of COVID. All right, Trump was just leaving, Biden coming. And there were not nearly as many COVID cases. Now, I know about Omicron, you know about it, we all know about it, okay? We were told by Anthony Fauci we would be protected against COVID, including Omicron, if we had 2 shots and a booster, and that turns out not to be true. Okay, so Omicron goes around the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines somehow. Okay, but that doesn't really bother Joe Biden. All right, he thinks that remarkably well and that he is going to crush this virus. He and his administration are going to crush it. All right. On inflation, the Fed, you know, those shadowy secret people who raise and lower interest rates, they're going to crush inflation according to the president. On the border, there were no questions on the border. None. On crime in the streets, rising violent crime, no questions. None. On race, nope. No questions other than Mr. Biden believes the African American vote is being suppressed in this country, and he's going to darn well stop that by new legislation that's clearly unconstitutional, by the way, but he's going to stop the voter suppression, even though a record number of African Americans voted when Barack Obama ran twice, and last election, their turnout is pretty much mirrored everybody else's turnout. Well, in what way are they being suppressed? We don't know. Nobody asked the president. the White House press corps. I'll get to them in a minute. And the key question here is, why doesn't Joe Biden support a voter ID? Nobody asked. But there was a lot on voter suppression. Are there any examples of voter suppression, Mr. President? No. I'm laughing because you have to laugh. You have to laugh. Okay. So then we go into the actual SOTs, and I have them. SOT stands for sound on tape. I have them, but I need to set it up before we get to them. Long, rambling answers that I'm not going to put you through. I mean, it's like the uncle that you have who's a little past his prime, and he comes on over for dinner, and then I remember in 1934, pretty close. Because there's tangents everywhere. Okay, very rarely does he answer the question and move ahead. It's got a long explanation. Rambling. Okay, so every failure that the press brought up, and they did bring up a few, let's be fair about it. Every one, President Biden either blamed COVID, Trump, or the entire Republican apparatus in the House and Senate. Every one. But never his fault. He never miscalculated. Never the progressive left's fault. No. It was either COVID, Trump, or the Republican Party. And finally, and this is the most incredible thing that I saw and heard today, Joe Biden does not believe this is a divided country. Now, he's either not telling the truth or he's delusional. He's not wrong because everybody knows the country's divided. Everybody knows that, but not him. So next to everybody, there's an asterisk and a footnote, not Joe Biden. Let's get specific. So the most pressing problem for Americans right now is inflation, because it's hurting working men and women, and families that don't have a lot of money are in kind of financial trouble. So Mr. Biden was asked about it and said this.
It's going to be hard. I think that's the place where most middle-class people, working-class people get hit the most. You pull up to a pump and all of a sudden, instead of paying $2.40 a gallon, they're paying $5 a gallon. That's going to be really difficult. But so we're going to continue to work on trying to increase oil supplies that are available. The bottom line, if price increases are what you're worried about, the best answer is my Build Back Better plan.
Wow. And that plan is not going anywhere. That's the best answer, to spend $2 trillion more dollars on top of the $4 trillion already allotted to spend for the government? So $2 trillion more is going to take care of inflation? Now, you think the press would hop on now. Like, wait, what are you talking? No. So right now we have the highest inflation in this country since 1982, coming off Jimmy Carter. Okay? The average price of gas today, January 19th, 2022, about $1 higher than it was a year ago. And remember, a year ago, Trump was just leaving office, no inflation. Wasn't any. Okay? But there was COVID, which is what Mr. Biden, COVID interrupted the supply chain. All right, but there wasn't any last year, and it was COVID. What happened? We don't know. Press doesn't ask. Press would never compare him to Donald Trump, ever in a million years. But we all know what happened. First day in office, Joe Biden knocked down the pipeline. Okay? Well, you do that, and you put more restrictions on gas and oil, both transportation and exploration, prices are going to go up. And once prices for gas and oil go up, everything else goes up. Everybody knows that. Not Joe Biden. He doesn't know it. It's going to be hard, but the Fed is going to do it and Build Back Better. Build Back Better is never going to get passed. But if it did, that would wipe out inflation. Okay. Early on, Mr. Biden probably said the most important thing to him that he had to offer about Donald Trump. Go.
Did you ever think that one man out of office could intimidate an entire party where they're unwilling to take any vote contrary to what he thinks should be taken for fear of being defeated in a primary?
Ooh, I don't know about that. 19 senators in the Republican Party voted for the infrastructure bill, which passed. So were they afraid of Trump? Then Trump's not going to like them? I think if the bill is sane, and I said I would have voted for the infrastructure bill, if I were a senator, you have to rebuild. And if it's targeted toward infrastructure, not all of it was. Remember that. Not all of it was. Always the green, always the climate change, always the equity. But enough of it was, so I would have voted for it. All right, now this really astounded me. Russia, Russia, Russia. 16 minutes and 18 seconds on Russia. And Putin hasn't even done anything yet. He's just saber rattling in Ukraine. 16 minutes. Now, right, it's important. Is it more important than violent crime in the streets here in America? Or declining race relations or an open border? Russia more important than that? Because those questions weren't asked. Russia, Russia, roll it.
It is going to be a disaster for Russia if they further invade Ukraine, and that our allies and partners are ready to impose severe cost and significant harm on Russia and the Russian economy.
So he's reading the answer. Did you notice that? He's reading it. So he knew Russia was coming. He read COVID too. So they knew, they being President Biden's advisors, COVID's coming, Russia's coming. He's reading it. He's reading it. But actually it was a good answer. And his subsequent answers were good too. I've said this from the jump. You want to punish Putin and Russia if they invade anybody else, you cut off the American bank supply, the dollar supply to Russia. That's the end of their economy. That's it. And the European nations do the same thing. That's over. Putin collapses. That's what you do. So that gave me a little confidence that if Putin does invade Ukraine, the banks will cut off credit, and you're not going to be able to use your American Express or Visa or MasterCard in Moscow. And the Moscow oligarchs aren't going to get their dollars. And hey, that's the way to deal with this guy. So that was good, Joe. That was good. But it was on and on and on. And then he made a mistake and he goes, well, if it's just a little incursion, then maybe we won't do a lot of stuff. And now the White House had to issue another statement later tonight, just a few minutes ago. No, he didn't mean an invasion. Yeah, I don't know. But I don't care. I know that the United States and the European Union would have to sanction Putin if he goes into Ukraine. And that would be the end of the Russian economy. Okay, next one. And this is what I cited. This is the most incredible thing. Unification. Go.
Is the country more unified than when you first took office?
The answer is, based on some of the stuff we've got done, I'd say yes, but it's not nearly unified as it should be. Look, I still contend, and I know you'll have a right to judge me by this, I still contend that unless you can reach consensus in a democracy, you cannot sustain the democracy.
All right, so that's all BS, but he says yes. Yes, we're unified. Quinnipiac poll out last week. Do you feel that President Biden's doing more to unite or more to divide the country? 42% unite, 49% divide. Okay, so that shows you it's not united. But facts and polls and surveys, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to him. He lives in Biden world. Okay, it's like Wayne's World without Garth. He's just Biden's world. You know, he thinks, yes, Yeah, based upon, yeah, that's it. Okay. Are you looking for your next investment? Bill O'Reilly here. There are 8 reasons to look at the NRIA Real Estate Development Fund. Stable monthly cash flow payouts with double-digit targeted bonus returns. They strategically develop in lower risk, high demand neighborhoods. Prime new construction is short on supply and high on demand. Diversification is safety from stock market risk. They have a short and long-term strategy for returns today and down the road. Specifically designed pandemic-hardened buildings. They are 15-year industry leaders with a proven track record. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines or want to diversify, please start your due diligence at nria.net or call 800-800-1414. That's easy, 800-800-1414.
An offer of securities is only made by the NRIA Private Placement Memorandum. Read it first. Past performance does not guarantee future results. NRIA is a real estate development firm. Learn more at nria.net.
All right, direction of the country. We're doing well or not well? Roll the tape.
What is the trajectory of the country? Is it moving in the right direction now? I don't know how we can say it's not. I understand the overwhelming frustration, fear, and concern with regard to inflation and COVID. I get it. But the idea, if I told you when we started, I tell you what I'm going to do. The first year, I'm going to create over 6 million jobs. I'm going to get unemployment down to 3.9%. I'm going to generate, and I named it all. You'd look at me like you're nuts.
Well, I'm going to let the I'm nuts line pass, but again, he's delusional. So I created 6 million jobs, or we're going to create 6 million jobs. He takes that from April, 2020, when COVID shut the country down. Shut it down. That's his baseline. And then things in the employment sector opened up. So people came back to work. So you didn't create 6 million jobs. All right, yes, unemployment's at 3.9% because people are desperate for workers, because so many millions of workers aren't applying for unemployment. Remember, the unemployment rate is calculated about how many people want to work. Not the slackers who say, Joe Biden and my state give me $45,000 a year for sitting on my butt. I'm not going out there. I got $45K. Remember that. So all the people who fled the workforce because they're getting entitlements so they don't have to work aren't counted. So it's such sleight of hand. We created 6 million jobs. It's bullshit. I can't. It's live. See, if it were taped and I said a bad word, they'd knock it out. I can't tonight. So Politico, he goes, I don't know how you can say we're not moving in the right direction. Another poll, Politico, 2,000 registered voters. All right, is the country moving in the right or the wrong direction? Put it up on the screen. Right track, 32. Wrong direction, 68. 68% of Americans say we're moving in the wrong direction. So Joe, again, is delusional. Not on this planet, in Joe's world. He should get Garth in there. Garth might some common sense to him. So there were 2 cheeky questions, all right? One was by Newsmax. It said, hey, a lot of Americans think you're incompetent mentally. Biden wouldn't even answer it, and I wouldn't have either. I mean, I wasn't offended that Newsmax asked the question, but, you know, look, why dignify it, okay? So Biden didn't, he's like, I'll let the people decide or whatever. But the next question by Peter Doocy of Fox News, this was pretty interesting. Roll it.
Why are you trying so hard in your first year to pull the country so far to the left?
Well, I'm not. I don't know what you consider to be too far to the left. If in fact we're talking about making sure that we had the money for COVID, making sure we had the money to put together the bipartisan infrastructure, making sure we were able to provide for those things that in fact would significantly reduce the burden on working class people, but make them, they have to continue to work hard. I don't know how that is pointed to the left.
So did you notice we're going to provide and we're giving them money, and that's, Mr. President, a left-wing philosophy. The government provides. Now, Ducey didn't have time or wasn't given the opportunity to follow up, but if I had asked a question, and I would have said, well, you know, you're spending more government money than any other president in the history of the republic by far. That's a progressive strategy. Central government provides. You even said the word, provide. Secondly, equity. That's favoring a certain group. That's not equality. That's favoring a group because of historical injustice, in your opinion. So the groups that aren't favored, they get hurt. That is a progressive component. Third, open borders. Come on. More than 2 million in last fiscal year encounters with the Border Patrol, and another 1 million got in, and record amounts of narcotics in. Open borders, that's George Soros, progressive. And finally, no protection for the unborn at all, Mr. President. None. No restraint. Abortion up to the last half hour, even almost up to birth. You support that. You don't think that's governing to the left? Again, it's not in the real world, because he believes all this stuff. He believes he's doing remarkably well. He believes there's no division in the country. No, can you say that? How can you say I'm governing to the left? How? Now, me and him in a Super Bowl interview, remember I did 3 of them, Bush the Younger, Obama, and Trump. What if it was O'Reilly and Biden in the Super Bowl interview this year? You think he gets away with that? This press corps? What if Putin goes into Mongolia? I'll get to them in a moment. I won't forget. So finally, there was a theme throughout this 1 hour and 45-minute press conference. All right? And this theme was, well, let's let the president define it. Go.
I think you're going to see the people we're trying to keep from being able to show up, showing up and making the sacrifice that needs to be made in order to change the law back to what it should be. But it's going to be difficult. I make no bones about that. It's going to be difficult. But we're not there yet. We've not run out of options yet. It's going to be hard. I think that's the place where most middle-class people, working-class people get hit the most. They pull up to a pump and all of a sudden, instead of paying $2.40 a gallon, they're paying $5 a gallon. That's going to be really difficult. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. But I think that we have to deal with, for example, like I said, you have a circumstance where people are paying more for a pound of hamburger meat than they ever paid.
So it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. But you cause most of these problems. You. Joseph Biden. But now it's going to be hard. Get out of them. And it is. It's going to be real hard. He's not going to get inflation under control this year. The Fed's not going to do it. All right? Border's going to remain chaotic. There's not going to be any new voting law because it's unconstitutional. Even if you pass it, the Supreme Court kick it out. The states are the ones that regulate the vote, not you. Now, if you want to say there's obvious fraud and the federal government's going to investigate it and indict, go ahead. All right, you can do that. So this whole thing was instructive. I'm glad he had the press conference because it proves to me, not only as a journalist and a historian, but as the American citizen that I am, it proves to me he doesn't know what the deuce he's doing. And there's nobody in his circle, nobody, telling him, hey, things aren't going well. We're not doing remarkably well on COVID. The Fed isn't going to get inflation under control. The open border and the crime problem are out of control. No one telling him that. So he doesn't believe it. He believes everything is great. Everything is going swell. That's what he believes. Why? Because that's what he wants to believe. Not a problem solver. He had not one solution, not one, to any problem we have in this country in this press conference. The only concrete thing he said is if Putin invades Ukraine, there's going to be severe economic sanctions. That was it. Now, I think my assessment has been as fair as I could possibly do it. I don't think I have to tell the truth. And I went over this and thought about it. We have radio affiliates, 300 of them, and I'm doing the same thing on radio. The man is not in the real world. The American people elected him. Okay, I'm not one of those guys that, throw the election out. I've never been that. But we made a terrible mistake, we the people. He is not going to improve things in this country. He's not. He's governing to the far left. He doesn't have the skill set or the mental capacity to solve complicated problems, and that is the truth. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's noticed everything is getting more expensive. We are in the biggest economic crisis since 2008, with a government that's printing trillions of dollars. Consumer prices at the highest we've seen in 30 years. Inflation certainly here. And if the government continues its out-of-control printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world's reserve currency. While paper money will eventually have a shrinkage in value, there are real tangible things that will always maintain value. So how do you protect your money, your retirement, your savings? American Hartford Gold can show you how to hedge your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. All it takes to get started is a short phone call, and they'll have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. Plus, tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. So please don't wait. Call them now, 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Well, we're back again. I'm live. Now, we have to run those commercials because we have to pay the staff. I vet them. You know, a few months ago, we had a pot concern wanting to buy some time. No, not doing drugs here. No. But I have a really good staff, and I pay them very well, and that's why we have to run spots. But we keep them in certain areas so they don't intrude. All right, the final thought of the day is a lot of younger people now are watching the No Spin News and listen to me on the radio. And when I see them out on the street, one of the questions for college kids in particular is, how did you become so successful? I mean, you're just a regular guy from Levittown, and I am. So how did it all work? Well, number one, I got some luck. Number two, I was very persistent. Number three, I got a good education. But here's a very important component of my success. I never phone it in, ever. Not only in my work life, but in my personal life too. If I'm going to do something, I do it to the best of my ability. I don't sleepwalk through it. I don't give you, if I were a baseball player, I'd run out the ground balls, okay? And I did when I was a baseball player. I never phone it in. I give maximum effort. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but if you do that, you'll see success starting to rise and rise and rise. You got to be motivated, because I want to be the best at what I do, all right? So I never phone it in, even when I'm feeling terrible. A couple of weeks ago, I had this condition, and I did the show. Gallbladder thing was horrible. I didn't phone it in. I made it happen. That's advice all young people should follow. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. In a world that seems to have lost its way, who can you count on? AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. That's who. Now, more than 2 million members strong, AMAC believes in the values that we constitutional people care about. AMAC represents courage, faith, and reason in these trying times. They stand for national solvency in a time of runaway debt, national security and sovereignty over unchecked borders. And they believe in the sanctity of life. These next 2 years are going to be tough. Now is the time to join AMAC. AMAC also gives you access to a wealth of benefits and discounts that will save you money, including AMAC's bi-monthly magazine delivered right to your mailbox. So please join today at amac.us. That's amac.us. AMAC is better, better for you, better for America.
Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on The First. No Spin News, every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on The First.